I thought he wasn't gonna make it.
Okay, well, it's 3 o'clock, and I can now say we have everybody in attendance now that Councilmember Jose has joined us. So we have a full council, and we have quorum. I want to welcome everybody. This room is full, and as you all know, we're in the process of planning a new city center. We hope to break ground in September and move in the spring of 2025. So this will be a better situation, but for now, we're all crammed in here. So welcome, and we're glad every one of you is here. The first thing we're going to do, as we always do, is start with an invocation. And Scott Vermillion from the Church of Horseshoe Bay is here. So let's stand for the prayer and then join me in the pledges.
Lord, we thank you for leadership. We thank you for your leadership of us and the fact that we've entrusted these men and women to lead us here in this beautiful city of Horseshoe Bay. Lord, we know that with every community there are issues to be resolved, and we pray that they would have the wisdom and the strength and the tenacity to make good decisions that represent all people and to solve the issues that move us forward. So continue that work. And we pray especially for this weekend, as we're heading into Memorial Day weekend. We pray that the officers and firefighters, they would keep us safe, that the people who come here for vacation and for fun would be mindful of each other, and it would be good and clean fun with no destruction of property or even harm to life. And so we lift up this time to you. Use it. In your name we pray. Amen. Allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Vermillion. I don't think there are any more chairs over there, are there? Can you all hear me? Yeah. Okay, we have, Carrie is just picking up the sheet for public comments, but if anyone did not get a chance to sign up and would like to make public comments, if you'll just raise your hand, we'll get you on this list. But I think probably everybody's on here that needs to be. The first thing that we're going to do, where is Chief Fowler? See here. Oh, there you are. We have a 5-year service award to present.
Mayor Council, Doug Fowler, Fire Department. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Stewart had an issue come up, and so he couldn't make it here today, but he will be on duty next month. So we'd like to do this next month, if that's okay.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll keep his award for him for next month.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, this is a very bittersweet moment for us. We are going to recognize the retirement of Chief Wardlow. So Jeff has got a few things to say. I've got a few things to say.
Come on up here. Yes. First, I've known Rocky for a long time. He's like a brother to me. And we're going to miss him, but, we're so happy he's got to the point in his life where he can start considering other things other than crime and other things that weigh on your mind. He's had a lifetime of it. I will say that, Rocky has over 40 years of experience. He has most of that career has been with DPS and has ran through the ranks of DPS up into a Texas Ranger and followed up by a captain in the Texas Rangers, sergeant in the Texas Rangers, which is way up. And we were blessed to have him for the last 15 years in our community. And, some of the things that he's embarked on his illustrious career, he worked underneath Bill Lane. He was his right-hand man for that, and he has done the same with Jason Graham, who is his assistant chief, and getting him prepped and ready for taking on more responsibilities. And under his stewardship, our police department has flourished and become a beacon of safety, integrity, and community partnership. Chief Warlow's leadership has characterized by his innovation approach to community policing and his dedication to the professional development of his officers and a relentless pursuit for the safer Horseshoe Bay for all residents and visitors. Chief Warlow's contribution extend beyond the badge, his engagement in the community initiatives, his open door policy for citizens' current concerns, and his efforts to foster a transparent and trust-filled relationship between the police and the community has left an indelible mark on our city. As we bid farewell to Chief Warlow, we celebrate his career with a distinguished service and significant contributions to the field of public safety. Like I said, over 40, 45 years, right? 60 years? 50. A lot of years. His legacy will continue to inspire current and future generations of law professionals. Please join us in extending our heartfelt gratitude to Chief Rocky Warlow for his decades of dedicated service and wishing him a fulfillment and joyous retirement.
I have a couple of things I want to say too. This really is a bittersweet time for me because you have been such a trusted advisor to me in this role, and I really appreciate all the help that you've given me. I know I speak for every citizen of Horseshoe Bay in telling you how grateful we are for the time that you gave us, the protection that you gave us, the wonderful city that we live in, thanks to everything that you did. So as your friend, I'm very happy for you and Angie to be entering retirement and going off and enjoying your lives together and your family. But we're really going to miss you. So thank you so much, Rocky. I love you. Would anyone, oh, this is for you. It says, in recognition of the service for the city of Horseshoe Bay, this plaque is presented to Chief Rocky Wardlow upon his retirement on this 15th day of May 2024. And then it goes on to tell all the wonderful things about him. So is there anyone else in the audience who would like to say anything to Rocky? And then I'm going to give Rocky a chance to speak if he wants to. You don't have to, but if you want to, you're welcome to. Okay, Mayor Lambert wants to speak.
My hiring,
Yeah.
He's responsible for having you.
Yeah, I was going to mention, I was mayor for 8 years and we did a few things right. Not a real long list, but one of them was hiring Rocky as our deputy chief. What a great addition you've been to our city. You continue the great tradition of our police department, and it really matters that the police officers here are really well liked in our community, largely because of you. You and Angie have been also great in our community. Glad to have you and wish you great in your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you.
Steve would be here if he could. He was planning on being because all the mayors owe their success largely to you and some of the other leadership. I was fortunate to come on the council with Bob when he was mayor and learn from him. But about the same time that Rocky was coming on board, Bill Lane was the chief. We walked the walk together for 10 years. And I would say, I don't think most people know Rocky's a pretty stoic guy. He's not going to give you his opinion unless you ask for it. But when you ask for it, you need to sit down. He was always the authentic person I could go to. And that was so important to me. And I know you're going to find the same importance as all the mayors have and council members have. One of the things you did, in my mind, that's key to our success with our staff is you modeled bringing somebody up alongside you. Because you worked with Bill, you positioned us so that we could all feel very comfortable. That the next thing was security for emergency operations. So thank you so much.
Those that know me know that I typically don't have a prepared speech to say, but it's been a great career. I loved my years at DPS, and the years that I spent here, 14 plus, have just been tremendous. The community is like no other place I'd ever been, and I appreciate, first of all, I want to recognize my wife because she's put up with it. And of course, the mayors and all the council people that I worked for over the years have just been awesome to work with. They truly have. The amount of support that I got, that we got as the police department, was above anything I could have ever imagined. Obviously, I want to thank the guys and gals at the police department. It's a great group, close knit. They're family. I consider them family. And kudos to Jason. He's been down in the trenches with me for many years. Actually, he's been here the whole time I've been here. So I've known Jason a long time, and I know he's ready to accept additional responsibility if this mayor and this council choose to impose that on him. So with that, I'll say thank you. Appreciate it.
What Sunday is there up today?
In here.
That right hand over there. Turn Indian guy.
Okay, thank you all. That is a very important transition for our city, and I really mean it. I wish Rocky and Angie the very best with their retirement. We have public comments next, and if you are here to discuss something that's on the agenda, I'm going to put that off until we get to that piece on the agenda. So if I don't call on you right now, that's the reason. And I am, okay, Jim, you have something you want to say other than what's on the agenda? Okay. Then go ahead. You're the only one. Jim Jordan.
Mayor, council, citizens, and friends of Horseshoe Bay. For the benefit of some in the audience, my name is Jim Jordan, chair of the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee of the city. And I'm here to report with deep regret the death of Ron Nicholas on April 5. Ron was a founding member of the city's Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. He had extensive contacts with historical organizations, both in Llano and Burnett counties. And he served as our external liaison to all outside groups. Ron's contributions to the HPAC were useful and appreciated. He will be missed. And the committee hopes that the minutes of this meeting will record this memorial statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. And you know what? While you're up there, the next thing on the agenda is the presentation of the arrowheads to the city. So do you want to tell us what we are receiving here?
Right. Okay, I'll point your attention to the screen. And I am here to introduce to you Kevin Crow. He and his brother are sons of Donna Sugg, a longtime resident of Horseshoe Bay, and grandsons of Eileen and Wayne Hurd, the founders of this very community. I also want to mention late breaking news here, so it's not on the screen, but Doug Jaffe is purchasing the property of the Crow brothers, and he is fully committed to the transfer of these artifacts to the city. I also want to introduce Jerry Bridwell. Jerry, would you stand up? Jerry's about a 25-year resident of Horseshoe Bay, a retired professional geologist, and a practicing amateur archaeologist. And at Wayne Hurd's invitation, he excavated the site that we're going to be talking about in about the year 2000. He issued a report on that. We have a copy of it. It's available. And of course, these arrowheads that are going to be presented in a minute are some of the artifacts. Now, Jerry excavated this area, which turned out to be a burned rock midden with the dimensions that you can see there in the middle of that view graph. You'll see the arrowheads up there at the upper right, and you'll notice that they're not all the same style, various designs, and the archaeologists over time have been able to determine from the shape and the design of the arrowheads exactly when they were created and where they were created. So, from all of that knowledge, Jerry has drawn the following conclusions. The site that these archaeological artifacts came from was occupied periodically, not continuously, but periodically from 9,000 years ago. There have been people here that long. Most of the artifacts that you see pictured there, Jerry says, are come from what the archaeologists call the Middle and Late Archaic periods, which had a time span of 4,500 to 1,800 years before now. And Jerry noted the presence of some other middens nearby, and from that he drew the conclusion that this area sustained a very large population of Native Americans for a long, long period of time. So if some of us think we're just old timers in Horseshoe Bay, no, we're all newcomers. With that, I'd like to call on Kevin to bring the arrowheads forward and present it to the mayor. Right out there with him. And Jerry, you probably need to be out there in that field.
I like that one in the middle.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm very honored to get to be a small part of this, I suppose, museum. Is that correct? I met Wayne and Eileen around 2000. Most everybody here knows that the mausoleum area has 3 or 4 large burned rock middens. I discovered that it was being vandalized by people who didn't have authority to be on the site to begin with. I reported that to Wayne, and Wayne told me, he said, well, yeah, and what I'd also like for you to do is to just patrol the Horseshoe Bay area, and if you see any vandalizing going on, just let me know and we'll have the police take care of it. So that's what I did, and I've been doing this I found my first arrowhead whenever I was 10 years old, which is 70 years ago. I would like to say this is my wife, Glenna Bridwell, and we're going to celebrate our 60th anniversary September 4th of this year. Thank y'all.
First of all, thank you. Thank you so much, Kevin, and Eileen, and your whole family for everything that you all have done. I just want you to also realize that it's pretty funny that we're not good to well, thank you very much. much for that, and these are going to a place where they will be treasured. We're gonna put them in our city center, we're gonna have a area where we're gonna dedicate to artifacts and some grateful to generous people like you and your brother who are part of these very special things. I was visiting the president before the meeting, and I hope most of you guys will have a chance to come up and look at this. These are amazing. When you think about that 9,000 years ago, there's a person who sat there and made these and crafted them, and probably took a very long time to do it. They were creating a weapon for being food to their family, and these things actually were effective in bringing down animals. And it's just amazing that they had that opportunity to do it, and that we had the opportunity to have this as part of our community. And we truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Probably hold it. Somebody can hold it. Why don't you hold it up?
Eileen just told me there's more. So, oh, there's more. I thought we were gonna get to go out and find it. Oh, wow.
Super. 5,000 years.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, all of you. I'm gonna go out a little bit out of order on the agenda here. I'm gonna move up to agenda item 8A, which is a business item. Our auditor, John Watson, is here to present our audit, and we're gonna go ahead and do that now so that John can get on his way back to Houston before it gets too late. So Molly, do you want to take, Molly Jester is going to, our finance director is going to lead this portion.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Molly Jester. I'd like to introduce John Watson. He is the partner of the auditing firm Brooks Watson and Company. He will be presenting the audited financial statements for the year ended September 30th, 2023. Council members Larry Morgan, Mayor Elsie Thurman, myself, and Jeff, the city manager, have all reviewed and approved the audited financial report. The audited financial report will be available in the finance office and on the city's website after this meeting. Staff will be asking council to accept the financial report for the year ended September 30th, 2023 after the presentation.
Thanks, Molly. Mayor, Council, appreciate the opportunity to present in front of you today. With that, I'll get into it. Again, this audit over September 30, 2023. The audit was conducted consistently with U.S. gas. That's generally accepted auditing standards. U.S. gas approach, it's a three-phased approach. The first phase is planning. It's where we look at current year results. We compare them to prior year. We compare them to our expectations. Try to focus on those areas we find most susceptible to risk of error or fraud. And that's the fieldwork stage. That's where we actually do the testing. We vouch samples to underlying evidence, make sure things are recorded properly, or where not, determine as to why and propose audit adjustments, confirm balances with third parties. And that leads us to the last stage, which is conclusion and reporting. We summarize anything found, prepare the report that you all have in front of you, and some letters. So that is what a U.S. gas audit is. The components of that report you have, there are 5 sections to it. The first section is the audit opinion. That's a letter from us, your independent auditor, describes whether the financial statements are consistent with US GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, or if there are any modifications. We'll look at that on a slide to come. Management's discussion and analysis follows that. That shows current year results compared to prior year, some explanations over changes year over year. The basic financials follow that. Those are presented on two different bases of accounting. First one is government-wide statements. That's got all your long-term debt, your capital asset activity, so longer-term activity, and then fund level statements, which are more consistent with how you budget near-term inflows and outflows. Toward the back of your report, you've got your required supplementary information section. It's got your budget to actual schedule for your general fund. We have a slide looking at those results in your pension schedule, which is actually, this was the first year that we presented a pension that's relatively new for the city. And then very back is the combining statements for your non-major funds. So that's everything within your report. I mentioned toward the front is the audit report. There are 4 types of opinions that you could receive listed from top to bottom here: unmodified, modified, disclaimed, and adverse. Unmodified is the best, and that's what the city received. So that is the highest level of assurance the CPA can provide. It basically means that there are no material errors or inconsistencies within this report we're aware of. We're thankful, as always, to the city getting us all the information to form that opinion. Always easy to work with, and look forward to working with them again next year. Financial highlights for the year, September 30, 23. First bullet here, total assets exceeded total liabilities by about $45 million. Your unassigned fund balance in the general fund was $7,355,000, which is about 60% of annual general fund expenditures, which is also about 7 months worth of expenditures. Your policy is to have a reserve of $2.5 million or 3 months of operating expenses. So the greater of those two. With 7 months, you're sitting well above that reserve. So you're meeting your policy. The city had an overall increase in net position for the year of about $5.7 million. This is a pie chart of your revenues. We can see at the top here, total governmental revenues were $17,850,000 for the current year. Prior year, it was about $15.4 million. The components of that, sales taxes make up 15%, about $2.6 million. Prior year, it was 16%, about $2.5 million. Property taxes made up 47%, about $8.3 million. Prior year, it was 46%, around $7 million. Charges for services made up 15%, close to $2.7 million. Prior year was also 15%, $2,322,000. In your PIT assessments in current year, 15%, $2,675,000. Prior year, also 15%, about $2.3 million. So those continue to increase, which has been the trend over the last few years. So that was the revenue side, and here's your expense side. So another pie chart of where are your expenses going. So the first bullet here, total governmental expenses were $14,432,000. Prior year, it was $12,685,000. The components of that, public safety makes up 43%, $6,123,000. Prior year, it was $5.5 million. General government made up 18%, $2,654,000. And prior year, 20%, $2.5 million. Highways and streets make up 18%, about $2.6 million. Prior year, it was $2.5 million. And interest and fiscal charges in the current year make up 9%, around $1.2 million. Prior year, it was around $530,000. Some new debt additions this year led to that increase in interest, which I know you all are aware of. Okay, so that was the government-wide side, and I mentioned there's another basis of accounting, which is modified accrual for at the fund level. So each column here represents a different fund. So the left column is your general fund. That's where the majority of your activity occurs. And then we've got a couple other special revenue funds to the right there. So a couple of things circled in red here. General fund, we just circled the net. So this is the net of your revenues and expenditures. We expect this to basically be at a surplus or break even, and you're operating at a surplus there of $450,000. This is what's feeding into that reserve I mentioned earlier, that 7 months of reserve. So that fed into an increase there. The Summit Rock PID had a net positive change, $250,000. So the assessments are exceeding the interest service there and debt service. Capital projects, so that's the third column from the left here, about $12,449,000. That's all the bonds that were issued this year. So that's the positive flow there. Everything else working consistently with our expectations. I mentioned toward the back of the report, you've got your budget to actual schedule, and this is a summary of that. So this is your general fund. On the left column is your final budget. So this is your original budget you passed plus any budget amendments during the year that were passed. That's the left column. Middle column are the actual results. Then the right column is the variance between budget and actual. So just circled bottom left in red. After all amendments, you budgeted a break-even budget, net of zero. Okay, actual results came in and you had a surplus. So how'd you get there? We look at the top right here. Your revenues exceeded budget by $187,000 there. Expenditures were less than budget by $826,000. This fed into that positive overall change there, bottom right, $1,147,000 for the year. Your water utility here, so everything prior was just governmental activities, the taxing, and this is your proprietary fund, so charges for services. So what we expect to see here is a surplus. It should operate like a business where it runs a profit because there's quite a bit of capital expenses involved with water utility. So what we see here is operating income of $2,353,000, operating consistently with our expectations, about $1.5 million after non-operating expenses and transfers. So working consistently with what we expect. So that's everything, a lot of information, high level on the report. We also have 2 letters that are in your packet. The first letter is just standard communications. If there's anything unique, it would be listed in there. There's really nothing alarming or anything of that nature. We are independent of the city, and that's listed in there. A lot of common things that we need to communicate. The audit adjustments are also listed in there. So that's the first letter. The second letter, we go through a lot of the controls and processes at the city. We try to pride ourselves on looking at new areas and trying to just see any processes that might be susceptible. And so with that, we have observations and we list those observations. We went over a lot of that with your audit committee, but those are listed in there. So with that, that's everything I wanted to share. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Council members, do you have any questions for John? No? I just want to make one comment. First of all, thank you so much. And what on the surplus, the 7-month surplus, I just wanted to mention for the benefit of the public who's here. Our policy is that we want to maintain a balance of about 2.5 months of operating expenses. 7 months is unusual, and the reason for that is because we've been saving money for the city center building. We've been trying to manage money responsibly, so we put money aside, and that money will be used when we build the city center. So it's not our intention to save 7 months of operating expenses. It's our intention to hold back 2.5 months. So just that for the benefit. I also want to thank Molly Jester and her team, the finance committee, the finance department. Molly came on after she was not here during 2023 when these numbers were being accumulated, but she's been here and worked with John and his team. And I know that that she's been very helpful to you, and it's not always easy to walk in and pick up and follow somebody else's work. So I just really appreciate Molly and the finance department and the fine work that they've done to give us this outstanding audit result. So thank you again, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. We'll see you next year.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Okay, with that, we need to, there's a,
Can I make a motion, Mayor?
yes, you may.
I move to accept the audited financial report for the year ended September 30th, 2023.
Okay, there's a motion by Council Member King. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Council Member Morgan. And so all in favor, say aye. First, is there any more discussion? Nope. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you.
I could ask one question. There were a couple of things in there that were suggestions that we do. I assume that those have been addressed. Thank you.
The audit letter, the management letter, the committee has looked at that, and we'll be bringing some suggestions to the council later on for things that we think would be a good thing for us, good things to implement. Thank you. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the public hearings. And the first public hearing is regarding ordinance 2024-14. We're going to open the public meeting. Carrie, are you keeping this for me? At 3, are you keeping the time for me? At 3:35. And Rick is the interim developmental services director. So Rick Williams is going to lead off with this discussion.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, Council. We'll try to get through this not as quick as possible, but in a way that makes sense. So we'll start. This is ordinance 2024-14. This is for the establishing the Silver Rock Plan Development District. So the owners of the 161-acre Silver Rock development located on the east side of Highway 71 are requesting a plan development zoning for this project. I won't read the full staff report, but essentially a plan development is when you have some unique agreement or development that doesn't fit maybe conventional zoning. They want some considerations. Staff reviewed this and thought that was an appropriate request for the applicant to make. And so we have brought that forward. It's gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission. They made some recommendations, and that it would be forwarded on to City Council. So that is where we are. So what I will do with Mayor's permission, I will go through the ordinance. Y'all should have some note sheets I made to try to help y'all along. So there's some sections with page numbers and sections. If I cover something, you'll want to add it for discussion to help sort of keep this.
Rick, let me just interrupt for just a minute. I just want to go through the process that I would like to follow here.
Okay.
Rick is going to present the staff report, and then I'm going to allow the developers, if they wish, to make any reports or presentations that they have. At that point, I'll call on the public who is here to make your comments, and then we'll go to the council members and ask your questions. I believe this was presented to Planning and Zoning at their last meeting. They made some recommendations to council that Rick's going to highlight for you. For council members, those are the ones in your plan development document that are noted in red. After the Planning and Zoning meeting, developers who were there realized that there were some things that the public was concerned about. They went back and they have requested changes to the plan development document, and those are in blue in your document. So Rick's going to go through those, and then he's got some more staff recommendations. So my hope is that we can that we're going to be addressing either with the staff recommendations or the changes that have already made, some of the concerns that were voiced at the Planning and Zoning meeting by the public. You'll still have an opportunity to speak. You can say whatever you wish, but hopefully they have considered some of those concerns and have gotten them taken care of. So with that, Rick, I'll let you go through this.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. That is perfect. So as the mayor said, council members, in the packet, in your packets, the red lettering, those are the recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission. The blue lettering are, like Mayor Thurman said, those are requests after the P&Z from the applicant. On advice from our legal team, they advise that we put it that way so y'all can tell the difference. So I will start on page 6 of the packet. That is the letter from the Horseshoe Bay Resort Office of Ron Lynn Mitchell, Vice Chairman. That outlines the request from the applicant. That's also page 7. Page 8 of the packet includes the layout for the Silver Rock aerial. Those are the lot numbers. So when we reference lot numbers going forward, this will be the map that you can reference. Page 9 is the overlay zoning for this ordinance. And then page 10 will be what they're requesting. It will essentially zone everything as planned development. They'll still have zoning criteria, but this is, after that, it will show as PD on the zoning map. So, okay. So we go to page 12. Page 12 has the first recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. They recommended striking the word barn dominium, replacing that with luxury recreational home. The applicant does have some slides when they present that'll show what that exactly looks like. Moving through page 13, it's the same strike, barn dominium replaced with luxury recreational home. We go through to page 15. And if I need to slow down, council members let me.
We don't have this available to show on the,
I did not include it in slides.
okay,
It's just in the packet.
okay.
So I apologize for that. So page 15, this is the section that would include those luxury recreational homes. So it has some requests from the applicant. So subsection G shows a building size, maximum building size should be 3,000 square feet. Make sure I'm in the right spot here.
Mhm.
Yes, yep, correct. And then exterior walls, all structures will be 50% masonry requirements. Is this what you intended, Mayor? You want me to go through with these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maximum building size. I'm confused, Rick, by that when you get down to item GII.
Yes, ma'am. That's for lots 1, 6, 9, and 14. A1 recreation.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
All right,
And then
got
as
it,
you go
okay.
down. So those are general.
Point of order. Do we have questions? Do we ask them now or do we wait?
It's-
I think if you all have questions as we're going through this packet, since you have it in front of you, it makes sense. But when you ask the questions, I feel bad that we don't have this for you all to see. So let's try to ask our questions in such a way that we give enough information so that the public who's here kind of know what we're talking about. If that's okay.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I apologize again. I didn't think to add this to the slide. So, do you have a question, Councilman Jose? Yes, sir.
The biggest issue I too, specifically on the number of parking spaces per unit.
Which page are you on, if you don't mind?
I think it starts on 12. No, it's not on 12. But that's one too. It's on garages itself.
Okay.
One of the questions I have, and I see this as
I can't hear you back there.
one of the questions I have still remains with all building right now. The majority of the new construction going on does not, the garages are not big enough for a pickup truck. And after all, we are in Texas and 50% of the people drive pickup trucks. Yet I constantly see trucks parked in the driveway because they can't fit in the garage. So I'd like to have some consideration put forward to increasing the garage size. And that also goes with the parking. Most of this has a unit and then there's additional spaces. My question would be really to you, do you see this as being single occupancy or dual occupancy? And if it's dual occupancy, that's usually 2 cars. So is there enough parking for residents?
From a zoning standpoint, it requires 2 parking spots. And then I believe, and I'm speaking a little, Sandra Nash, our senior planner, is out on vacation. So she would usually field some of these. My understanding is that all of these will be zoned. They will require either covered parking or garages. Is that correct? Yeah. So, yep. Okay. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. On page 16, one of the things, so what I'll do is I'll sort of skim through and touch on areas to highlight. So this is in reference again to the luxury garages, formerly called barn dominiums. So we struck in subsection E on page 16, it says main house and barn. We struck barn and added garage. If you go down a little bit further to G, subsection II, we put some maximum area requirements of the building. We downgraded that from 5,000 square feet to 3,500. And then in the next section, we also limited how many doors. So one comment from the P&Z was that they didn't want 4 or 5 RV size doors, and then this to be sort of an RV park from the neighbors. So the applicant did request that we limit that. So that section says for luxury recreational home garages, there shall be no more than 1 oversized door to accommodate a residential vehicle. There are pictures in the slides when the applicant provides that show that. So essentially, if you have a 3-bay garage, only one of them can accommodate an RV. The other 2 would be your standard car garages or pickup truck.
Okay, so the big changes from what was presented at the PZ is that we're changing it so that there can only be one large garage door, and the size of the garage has been reduced from 5,000 square feet to a maximum of 3,500 square feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep. And those were requests that the applicant put in after getting feedback.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
But that only includes the barn. I don't want to say barn,
garage.
the garage,
Yes,
not
sir.
the home garage.
Correct. So it'll be the garage in general. So so if you look, it's a good question under section G, I is the main house component. So a 1-story house has a square footage of 2,500, 2 stories, 2,800. The garage in total, so that encompasses all garage for whatever use, as a maximum area of 3,500 square feet.
Is that enough to encompass a pickup truck?
3,500
Yes,
square
sir.
feet?
Yeah,
No, the
that's fine.
3,500. I'm talking about
Yes, sir.
1,000 square feet.
The minimum for 1,000 for a 2-car garage, I believe so. That would be, it's 20 by 50 or
If you've got a big pickup
20
truck,
by 30.
24 feet, 25 feet, I know. That's my point. Yeah, that's my point. I think we need to address that. Okay. Well, I understand the 3,500, but it was the 1,000 of okay. All right.
I would, not to speculate, but if it's 1,000, it may be that would mean that's a minimum. They would omit probably the RV storage would be my assumption. It would just be a traditional, but they could go up from there. So, one thing legal gave me the nod is if you speak, please go to the mic. Just so if you speak, please go to the mic. Just so, yeah, no worries. Okay. Going further down on the same page, B for prohibited uses specifically, so they know this is not a standalone. It says accessory structure with full kitchen, garage, and or driveway. Those are prohibited uses. So they can't build a detached, standalone luxury garage, etc. So, okay. So we kind of get in the meat of this now with the recommendations from the P&Z on page 19. So I skipped ahead a few. There were no changes from P&Z or applicant from 16 to 19. So page 19 and 20 go together. And the reason they go together is they address permitted use or conditional use on lots 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 15, 16, and 17. That's all the lots that would fall under C2 general commercial. So specifically, we're going to address, let me get my cheat sheet notes here too. Lots 2, 8, and 10. Those were lots that the original plan development requested that they be permitted uses for warehouse or storage, personal storage. P&Z's red line recommendations, those be conditional use. So that is a question for council. Both of those uses, one falls in 19 and 20. 19 on page 19 is the permitted uses, so they've been moved to 20 per the P&Z. One thing staff would like council to consider, there's pros and cons to permitted use for CUP. The only reason to have a CUP would be if council wants to see this again. So that's something if y'all discuss now and y'all are accepting of that, then it would be a permitted use if you want to see it again. Obviously y'all have final say, so it doesn't have to be a one size fits all. Y'all can pick lots or however. I think on lots 8 and 10, they abut storage, as does 2. So again, council decision.
These are just basically contiguous to other storage areas in my
Yes, sir.
estimation.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They back up to the self-storage units that are on 2831, basically.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If you look on the original map I referenced, you can see 2 is sort of down at the base next to Highway 71. 8 and 10 are tucked in the back. They're buffeted by Lot 9, which is green space, back into Westgate Loop, not Westgate Loop, but whatever it's.
Wolf Creek.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Wolf Creek. Yeah, there you go. Another request of the applicant on page 20, you see in section IV, it's, this is for parking, prohibited uses. Parking, you've got some parking detail out there. So it says storage units, personal storage, and office warehouse are to provide loading and unloading spaces in front of each loading and unloading parking area. Basically, the request is they want a dedicated spot for unloading, not just like some of the other sections around town where it's kind of wherever you can get in. So they would designate that. That was the request they made. And then venues, we have parking ratios throughout zoning. Those are based on some national standards, not necessarily fit Horseshoe Bay perfectly. So in section V on that same page, it says restaurants and venues shall provide a minimum of one space for every 100 square feet of seating area. And then they wanted to add plus 20 spaces for staff and associates. So in the national standards, that's not outlined. They're requesting that plus an additional 20 so that staff has designated parking spots so we don't run
I
into
like that.
Yep, I think that's a
Smart.
reasonable request. Then,
Rick, you might, I think you skipped on page 19 that the
oh, yes, gaming.
the request by the developer to
Correct.
make gaming a prohibited
Yes.
use.
Prohibited use. So gaming is not video games necessarily. That's the little slot machine things that are popping up. That's something I remember a few years ago, police department did a report on that. It's not that that's, you know, we're not City of Houston where we have a ton of them, but it is something they want to make sure that that won't be in here. We're going to prevent it in this plan development. So no slots or anything like that.
Can they play bingo?
Chief Graham? I'll let him be the bad guy.
It's quail hunt or quail point.
Yeah, this, I believe this is following a lot of what the Llano County
Yep.
had did to resolve their gaming of some of the places in Granite Shoals, I think, where there was some illegal activity and drugs that were kind of ganging up in those areas. So they kind of asked all the communities to put their step forwards and try to stop this.
Is the term gaming specific enough, or do we need to?
We could define that. It is defined. Gaming is defined in zoning and all that as slot machines, gambling, whether for cash prizes. But that is always something. If you'd like us to define it, we certainly
No,
can.
if it's defined that way, then that's what we
Would
will
you-
go by.
you have any feedback? I don't know that we have it in other places in our zoning. So is that a recommendation we? Okay. That may be something if you want to request, if it's not defined, we define it. Would be,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to include as much as I can on that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So I have a couple of staff recommendations on page 22. Now we're in the lot for the senior living. That starts on page 21. That's C2 senior living. This is specific to lot 13. And so there are no P&Z or applicant recommendations on that, but I have a few things, and they're mostly around definition I'd like to propose council consider. The first one is page 22, section 6C. Staff is recommending defining tower, which appears in there as with this definition, area of building extending above roof line, not intended for habitation or climate control. Tower shall be for access of rooftop mechanical structures only. And so what this means essentially is if you have a stairwell, if you have equipment on the roof, you have to access it. So there's a stairwell that's going to extend. That needs to be protected from the elements, but it's not a tower that we would think. It's not going to be like the lighthouse on the picture here. So that's not the intent. So to clear that up, that's my recommendation for.
This is internal access or external access?
It would be internal, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, and I can add that if you want clarification. We can
Yes.
say specifically for internal. So,
Please.
okay. So we would say area of building extending above roof line. Okay. And so for the second sentence, I would say towers shall be for internal access of rooftop mechanical structures only.
That's good.
My next one, also in section 6C, would be to add a parapet wall. So you've got towers and chimneys. We would add parapet wall with the condition that a parapet wall required for screening of mechanical equipment on roof shall extend a minimum of building code requirement for safety fencing not to exceed 5 feet. And then there's another point to that, but my my reasoning behind that is again, for AC units or whatever mechanical devices you'd have on the roof, you want those to be screened from public generally. The reason I didn't put a minimum of 3 feet, we kind of went back and forth, is that there are some code barrier requirements. If you're on an elevated structure, you have to have a fence. And so a consideration for council, instead of having a 3-foot wall with a 1-foot fence or whatever, we just say the wall's got to be high enough to provide that barrier protection, but not to exceed 5 feet in height above the roof line. Directly after that, I would propose in section 6C in general that we add, there's a section that says 43 feet. That needs to be clarified. That's above highest natural contour line, which matches the 35 feet building requirement that's throughout our zoning ordinance. Okay. Are y'all good so far? Okay.
I have a question on landscape.
Yes, sir. I have one more on this one, but if you want to.
No, go.
Okay.
Finish yours.
Okay, I've got one more on page 22, section 6. Looks like it's been bumped to page 23. Section 6I is under roof construction. So staff is recommending defining that semi-flat roofs be allowed with the following restriction. They may be a TPO membrane over cover board behind mansard construction. What that is essentially, so when you have, again, you've got that roof with mechanical equipment on it, it's obviously not going to be a pitch, it's going to be flat. So we allow that specific to this lot, provided that it's TPO and it meets those construction requirements. That's also defined in building code, but we would allow it also in zoning would be my recommendation.
Did you have a question about landscaping on page 22, Frank?
Well, it's in general, so we can do it whenever he
Okay,
gets.
sir. Yeah, go ahead. We can do before I move to the next one.
I'm assuming, are we allowed, and this is probably a legal question, because I know landscaping has not fallen under provision, but can we ask for this to be water conservation landscaping?
We are
Can
asking,
we make that a
so
requirement, is what I'm asking.
can we require landscaping? I believe we can. We do consistently in the zoning. That can be a question I can ask legal if you'd like.
Follow up on that.
We strongly recommend when you landscape this, you consider the climate we're in, use plants.
When you're generally when you're doing a plan development, you're kind of balancing. Some rules you're giving more flexibility to, maybe less requirements, and you're adding some additional ones. So if you want to add some additional requirements, you have the flexibility to do that because they've asked for a plan development. And where we are at the stage is obviously they've been planning and zoning. They're making some concessions and changes here, and it sounds like we've got quite a list of things that you may want to redo, but that may be one of them. I don't know about your general water conservation requirements for other provisions, but they would have to meet that requirement in any way.
I think council, I think everybody would agree that any time that we have an opportunity to inject some language around landscaping, we should do it.
So that would be something if you want to add something to. Yep. To answer a little bit too, there are some in the new drought contingency plan. If we were to hit stage 3 for some reason, which I'm not going to still raise thunder, I'll let him give you good news at the end of the council meeting about our lake basin levels. But if we were to hit stage 3 in the months of July, August, and September, they cannot plant turf grass. So that is a consideration. We're going to make sure at building permit, whenever anybody comes in, we're going to really hammer that home that if we're in stage 3, we can't plant turf grass in those summer months at all. That's a requirement from LCRA they passed on us, and it will enforce. So anything else on page 22? Okay. For page 23, this is in reference to C2 convenience store car wash, which is lot 3. Oh, I apologize. We had one more on the roof construction. They wanted, the applicant asked at the end of that paragraph, so the parapet walls shall conceal all rooftop equipment from abutting lots, tracks, and they added and streets. So they don't want you to be able to see the mechanical equipment from the roadway either. So I think that's a good addition. Okay, so moving on to section 7, C2 convenience store car wash lot 3. They have several things in there. One of them, subsection 3, is retail beer and wine. They added the word sales. Specifically, they're not saying we're opening a bar there. This is sales for a car wash convenience store. So we don't want them drinking on site. essentially. We clarified that. Gas pumps, car wash and convenience store, car wash detail station, and drive-through beverage if connected to main building. That's subsections IV or Roman numeral 4 through Roman numeral 7. Planning and zoning is recommended instead of that being a permitted use now, that would be a conditional use. One recommendation I have is well, I think we talked about that before, but for council to decide if convenience store would be something standalone or not. My understanding from the applicant is they didn't get the conditional use for the gas pumps. They're probably not going to build a convenience store without gas, but some consideration.
So it's red now. What does that mean?
That means, so it was black, meaning when it was put forth, they were requesting that be a permitted use. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended that be moved to conditional use. So you'll see on the next page, it's red and struck through now, and it's just in red lettering on the next page. They recommended moving it to conditional.
So just to clarify, this tract is zone C2, which would allow for a convenience store.
Yes.
So the conditional use is really to the possibility of adding the gas pumps and the car wash.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're asking council to decide is, do we want to, for some reason, require that even the convenience store be conditional use, or we would allow them to build that without the gas pumps and the car wash? And then if they want to add those at a later time, they could come back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it's some of it's semantics. So you could say if they were going to build a convenience store, it's probably more of a grocery store. So there's some stuff in there. The other option would be to make it all a permitted use, which planning and zoning recommended against.
And I think the community was very opposed to that at the planning and zoning.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
We can ask the developer when they speak if they what their thoughts are on that convenience store, just so we can know what their direction is. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So the next section, section B on the same lot, uses not permitted. So one of them, they have auto, boat, and RV sale and repair. They also added storage. So they don't want storage, sale, or repair of auto, boats, or RVs. And then again, the gaming that comes up. So no slot machines at the gas station. Those were requests from the applicant. Any questions on page 23? Okay. Page 24, we're still on the same lot 3. If you go down to M, conditional uses, that is what I was saying. So basically those permitted uses for gas pumps, car wash, those would move to conditional. So those show up in 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Roman numerals under section M. And then the applicant under Roman numeral 2 is also added for the gas pumps with a max in the car wash. So then the car wash would have a maximum of 2 washing bays. So not a commercial car wash with 8 or 9 or whatever, just 2. You have a question, sir?
Tell me just a second.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting, my ignorance is showing here, but conditional use means they come back and request it later.
Correct. Yes, sir. That is correct.
They want-
So a permitted use means if you all stamp it today, then I can issue a permit tomorrow for it. Conditional use means needs to come back to council for approval. Okay. Questions on 24? Okay. So the next one is C2 restaurant venue. That's lot 18. That carries over to page 25. It's the same thing under not permitted uses, gaming again. So we still don't want slots. Under section J, they have some clarification again on the parking. So they want 20 standalone spots for staff and associate parking.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
You've got brewery here.
Yes.
Is that a proposal?
It is. So that would be.
It's under use permitted.
It's permitted. Yes. So that is something they're asking that be a permitted use. I'd have to double check. I believe that may be a permitted use in West zoning as it is now, but I can research that if you like. But that is what they're requesting in this. Yes, sir.
Anybody have any angst about that besides me? We don't want to have a brewery.
Why not?
Do we?
What they're proposing is a brew pub.
Okay, all right. Then clarification of that.
You can clarify. I mean, that is, again, up to council. If you want to clarify that brewery be permitted as long as it's attached to a restaurant or they serve food, that's something.
So I just didn't, It said brewery, and I'm saying I don't want a standalone brewery.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So
So
that would
clarify that and put that in there with the restaurant, and I'm comfortable.
okay. So this is page 24,
B.
section 8A2.
2.
So you want to add under permitted uses brewery.
Associated with restaurant.
Yeah. Must be associated with restaurant. Sir? I know. For education on my part, is there a difference between a microbrew and a brewery? Is that a? So is that samples?
No.
Okay.
No, yeah.
I think it's volume related.
Okay.
You don't sell very much beer, then it's a micro. If you sell a lot, then it's a brewery.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
Okay.
Keep in mind that there's still a couple more hurdles that have to be crossed before anything is built. We will go to final plat, and then a building permit has to be issued, and any project is going to go before the Development Review Board, the committee here in our city. Anything like that is out of the intent of what we're doing here, they're going to catch it.
Yes. And I chair that
And they won't
committee,
issue a
so
permit.
I'll remember what y'all beat me up on and make sure
Yeah.
it gets pushed through. I did. So, too, there is a utility with that being that close to a sewer plant. There'll be some requirement for pre-treatment. We don't want them to dump a load of yeast or whatever, and it goes straight to it. So there are some utility requirements.
Okay.
TABC, my understanding, they have to permit it. And there's a process there too. So, yes, sir. Good point, though. We'll add that to the list. Any other questions on 24? Okay. Page 25, like I said, it strikes gaming, and then in the bottom at section J, it has the carve out for 20 parking spots for staff and associates. Questions on 25? Okay. Page 26 is general requirements. These are things that they would, so they're PDs, so we require them. None of these are changes, but just so you know, they still have to adhere to the image corridor overlay. That's the ordinance y'all passed last year. No apartments within the project. However, this prohibition will not apply to an assisted living facility. Essentially, being assisted living facility is kind of an apartment with nursing, so that's why that's in there. Developer agrees to install water and wastewater lines as required to accommodate the project, and then all the other stuff. So I won't read all those off to you, but those are general notes on construction. They're going to comply with all the standards of Horseshoe Bay.
The only question I had is
Yes, sir.
entrance to this for construction off 71 and not 2147, correct?
That is my understanding. I don't know this abuts 2147. Yeah, so they can't. They'd have to cross somebody else's lot.
Okay, so,
Yes, sir. And we won't permit that. Yeah.
okay, good.
So, okay. So that was a lot.
Okay, yeah, and good job, Rick. And we may have some more questions for you. If council, go ahead and ask if you want.
This is on the entire project, actually, Rick, and that
I have the
is,
maps. I'm sorry. Yeah.
unless I'm missing it, I don't see any minimum lot sizes for residential or townhomes or garden homes. And we do have minimum lot size for the recreational, I think, but not for those three. And so to prevent putting, not that we would, but to prevent putting a huge number of home sites on a little acreage, I'd like to know how many sites we've got on each one of those.
Okay. Is that something y'all can provide? Okay.
Okay, so you can talk about that one. Okay, so the developers are going to speak, and we'll make sure that you
They'll
address
answer that, and I'll answer a little bit before they start too. One of the things is they'll have to give us an LUE count, which will restrict ahead of time. Building setbacks, kind of give a back door into it, but I will let them. So.
Now, you can ask questions later, council members, but do you have any further questions now? Okay, I'd just like to say before we're going to get the public's comments now, but Actually, no, I take it back.
You
We're
want
going to
the
ask for the
applicant?
developer now. I just want to say that after that, this project has been reviewed by TxDOT. And do you want to go through a little bit what the TxDOT recommendation or what the requirements were? Because the city doesn't have anything to do with the ingress and egress points. That's not a decision we make. That is the decision that TxDOT makes. And they've reviewed this plan and you've got it there. What I believe, and I'm not sure that all of those are going to happen, but you can explain a little bit to everyone about the turn lanes and deceleration and
Yes, I will take a stab at that. So there are 5 entrances proposed to this. I know there was some feedback on it, and then Rick, if you want to go ahead and step to or whoever's going to present, if one of y'all want to step to the microphone in case council has questions as well. My understanding is they approved 5 entrances. That did cause some concern amongst the public. For safety reasons, though, they want more entrances, not less, to prevent traffic backup on coming off of Highway 71 and then also coming out of the development. So that is a standard comment they have. They will be required to put in a left turn lane and decel lanes. I don't know if were they standalone decel lanes or did they allow y'all to use the shoulder for deceleration?
They actually prescribe that we do not have actual decel lanes, a center turning lane, and then use the shoulders.
For decel. Yes.
So the eastbound traffic will have a center turn lane and the westbound traffic will use the shoulder as a deceleration lane, which is the same way it's done at Summit, right?
Yes.
Yes, except Summit doesn't have a
The
center
turn lane, correct. Okay.
Yeah, so coming off the hill, so that is one thing. Coming off the hill on Summit Rock, you don't be on your phone because somebody could be stopped turning. This will have a decel lane. And then, like I said, they permitted 5 entrances. They have a matrix that they put that in to make sure they're the right distance apart. And then they go through quite a stringent study on that. So Horseshoe Bay stance, we have a criteria manual as well. It just references the TxDOT manual. They're very thorough with that.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Town.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Rick.
Yes, sir. I've got some slides you provided for this. Did y'all ask about a handout? Is that something?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us and appreciate the opportunity to represent the community in Silver Rock and what we're trying to do. As you know, what it started out to be was something that we don't have. We looked at it as what don't we have and what do we need? And the old saying that we're kind of amenities rich and convenience poor is, it's, you know, a cliche, but in reality, we have to drive quite a long way to get certain conveniences. So we looked at the property and we said, okay, you can't do one thing and you have to do many. And what are those things and what fits in and what is appropriate? And so we started out with that endeavor and that in mind. And then obviously we got zoning and then now we're back for a PD. And why are we back for a PD? Because it's to do exactly what we're doing now. And that is to hyper identify all the components and pieces of the project and all the little intricacies that will make it appropriate for what we're trying to accomplish and what fits the community. So in the question of, you know, lot sizes, the answer to that is you have minimum square footage of homes with minimum setbacks, which basically consumes the space. And then you have your LUEs. So you're essentially controlled with those definitions. And that's part of the reason why you do PDs. One of the things that we wanted to talk about was the fact that nobody liked the term barndominiums, which is a cliche in itself. And reality is, as I kind of looked at this more and more with multiple people, barndominium means many things to many people. So it's very confusing. What sounds cool and hip is not necessarily reality in some people's perception. So what we set out to do was we set out to do something that Horseshoe Bay doesn't have. And I'll use the parallel. Horseshoe Bay did not allow barns before Bay Country. And so now Bay Country has barns, but nobody else does, which is fine because that's the way those properties were set up. And so in Silver Rock, we have a unique property that's 60 acres, of which roughly 40 will be used for the barbecue, brewery, tavern, and then this luxury recreational homes. Doesn't mean that people can't build a regular single family resident. We don't demand that they have a large garage. But what makes these unique, and by all means, these are taken off the internet because we are asked to do these in a short amount of time. So these are not architectural design plans that we have specific for these properties. But what the goal in mind was to, people want to come here and they want to partake in they may live here full time, they may be a second home, but there's an issue with people having a place for an RV or their boats or, their cars, things that they have, their personal gym, they're basically their personal space and storage. And so these type of properties allow them to have oversized garages. They look nice. They look like a normal home. You might have one large garage like that, but it's done in a way that's elegant and professional and nice. And so essentially, if you have an RV, where are you going to park it? You have to drive to another city, and it gets a little complicated. To think that you could actually live in Horseshoe Bay and live in a community that's pretty isolated other than a few homes that are able to see it, but yet you have the flexibility to have some of the amenities of your amenities, your personal amenities, recreational vehicles and other items that you can have at this home that you also can live at or have as a second home or guest or whoever it's going to be. So as we scroll through these, you can see there are many different types of product with these particular garages. This one happens to show a breezeway. This one happens to show large glass. That breezeway is a connected breezeway between the garage and the house, but it looks like one big building. This is just a little bit more of a, different style. This is something where people have basically a large family room where they're, I've been to a few ranches in Laredo and they look like that. So that's an option. Some people would put cars not in their living space, but they might hang out and watch TV next to their car and, cuddle with it, I guess. This shows just different uses. And so essentially what you're getting with the luxury recreational home is you're getting living space and you're getting storage space of recreational items or personal items or, however you see fit within reason, I guess. Mayor, would you like me to address the CUPs versus permitted? Where would you like me to go?
I would like to know what y'all's desire is in terms of the C-store. If you are interested in having the C-store, if we're going to make the conditional use stay in place for the gas pumps and the car wash, that you would have to come back at a later time to ask for that, or do you want it just to all be as I think more than likely that's going to stay conditional use. My guess is.
Understood. I mean, I can lobby for it and I can tell you all the reasons why. I would like to address those reasons, even if we concede to that, which sure. I understand the position that we're in. Regarding that particular spot in the corner, if you're leaving my house in the trails and you come out to the 71, you won't see that building. There's too many trees and it's tucked back in a corner. And then the intention is to have the landscape berm right in front of that entire facility, and that you will not see the gas pumps if there are gas pumps. And so our goal was to have a convenience store. And what I mean by that is, conveniences. You can go get bread, you can get coffee, you can get things that you need, and you don't want to drive, to Llano or unfortunately Bayside closes early. So if you go out in the evening, you're driving a long way to get, things that you need. And then the car wash was just a convenience and kind of a higher end detail car wash where you can go through a tube and then you come out and you have your car detailed. Right now it's a lot of mobile detailing. And so it's a little tricky, but to have an isolated spot where you can have conveniences like the store, like the car wash, and get gas while you're there. That was the intent of the pumps, the gas pumps. The intent was not to have a gas station that you could buy food at. It was the other way around. So my goal, I've been working with our architectural firm, and we have renderings, we have things that we're preparing to come back if we need to for the CUP. to present that we are protecting the view and making sure that we're not driving by and looking at a Buc-ee's, for lack of a better description, or something of that nature. So, I mean, it's up to y'all, of course, and I think Sandra said it best. She said, if it was you and you owned it and you kept it, you've always worked with the community and you do the right thing. But if you sell it and someone else comes in and we don't have, some say-so in it or how it lays out, then you never really know what you're dealing with. So I understand the request. My goal is to keep it, but I can't always dictate that. So,
And just to clarify, go ahead, Mr. Mitchell, would you like to add something?
We looked at the concept too because of convenience for Blue Lake, Deer Haven, Sunrise Beach. Currently, all those people come onto 2147 to either go to 7-Eleven or go into Cottonwood to the convenience store facilities there. So I think with the architecture and where it's located next to storage units, the city treatment plant, the fact of that convenience it would offer, and it could actually cut down on some of the traffic on 2147.
Good point.
very valid point.
Just, I think you were alluding to this, but let me just clarify for the benefit of the council. What he's saying is that if it comes back and we do something as conditional use follows the person to whom the conditional use permit was issued. It's not attached to the property. So what Sandra was talking about, that is, if this is conditional use, then if it starts out that Mr. Town owns the property and then they sell it to someone else, that person has to come back and get a conditional use permit again. It doesn't just follow the property. So that, I think, is what she was implying, that it gives you a bit of control over the continuance of people following the rules. On the other hand, we have laws, we have codes, we have other ways of enforcing that people follow the rules. So that's just something for you all to think about.
And if it's my understanding, we've gone through a few times now where we go to DRC, they make you abide by the rules, and
Yes, sir.
yeah, we've been through it. So it's not. I think a lot of people view this as, oh, you approved it and therefore we have no control. And the reality is that that's not the case. There's always, I've been doing this a long time. There's always control. There's always reciprocation and making sure that everything is done according to the agreement and what's best for the community, which I believe would be a berm that would hide those pumps and have a really elegant building that if you saw it from a different angle, you wouldn't believe it to be a convenience store. You might think it's a nice restaurant or something that looks pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, we live close to 7-Eleven and the Texan Mart, and there are a lot of times that somebody runs over to get a lime, and it's handy to have it. So I think the people who live out 2831 will benefit from having that eventually at some point.
And it is tucked in a corner. It really is.
Okay. Anything else that any of the other members of the development team? Go ahead. Are you through?
With regards to the CUPs on the storage and the warehousing, those all are in the back of the project. You really wouldn't see them in there. They abut, like Councilman Jones had stated, that they abut to existing storage or open space that you're not going to see those units anyways. So I appreciate it if you would consider as a whole to allow all of it to be PD'd, but if I understand your decision and support it.
Do council members, do you have any questions for Mr. Town right now? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have several members of the community who have signed up to make comments, and hopefully some of this that between the two Ricks has answered some of your concerns. If not, feel free to tell us what you're thinking. But you don't understand that if somebody said something and you just want to agree with it, feel free to stand up and agree. I want everybody to have a chance to speak. And so we're going to limit the public comments to 3 minutes. And Carrie has a clock over here. What does it do? It blinks or does something when you have 30 seconds left? A minute left. Okay. So just watch her clock, and appreciate you all trying to help us manage our time. I believe the first person who signed up to speak, Mr. Mitchell, you don't want to speak unless you're here. Okay, okay, fine. Judy Keller?
Am I supposed to say where I live?
Yes,
that
that'd be
same?
great. Thank you.
Okay. Judy Keller, 421 The Trails Parkway. And mayor and council and all interested parties in attendance today, I'd like to talk about the Silver Rock development. There have been a number of discrepancies between what the citizens heard when the Silver Rock development was first made public and what is now being said and planned. However, that is not what I am going to focus my time on. I have been told by representatives of the city that the city would continue to keep a close eye on this development. With all the different moving parts, self-storage, gas station, convenience store, retail and office, senior living, townhomes, residential homes with large garages, etc., I believe it is imperative that the city continue to live up to their commitment in watching this development very closely. In my opinion, by passing the permitted use, you are taking your eye off the ball. I encourage you to continue with conditional use as this project proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. Yes, would you like to?
Yeah,
respond?
Mayor Thurman. So one thing I'd add, which not to dispute that comment, that's understandable. One thing to remember too, so for a residential structure, that is something that if it's permitted, it goes to development services, it's permitted, and then you can build it. For any triplex unit or above for multifamily, any commercial structure or any multifamily, it does have to come back to the development review committee, each one. So if they built, if they end up building, if y'all permit use on 3 storage, each one of those will have to come to the development review committee, which is myself in my normal position as the utilities director. But as development services now, it's the current utilities director, Ray, public works director, Tim Ferran, fire chief, fire marshal. PD usually isn't there, but if there is concern about public safety, we'll include them. And then also our city infrastructure inspector. So we definitely, we hear the mandate from the community. They want us to keep eye on that. So with that stuff, they do have to come. That's a lengthy process. It's at least 60 days for everything. It's typically longer. And that's for a simple, like I said, triplex unit. It's probably 60 days. So just if that helps relieve some of the concern.
You want to, Mr. Mitchell has something he'd like to add to this too.
I'd also like to add that we have a 68-page covenant document, covenants, restrictions, and declarations that parallel what the city will pass. So there'll be no conflicts between the two. They'll have to go through the architectural committee and live up to all those covenants with the land.
Thank you. And of course, every structure is going to have its own building permit.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's correct. And those don't, that's what I was saying. They don't get issued. If you do a commercial project, you cannot walk over and get a building permit. It has to go through development review committee.
Okay. Thank you. But very good concerns. And we appreciate your
Hopefully that
interest.
alleviates that a little bit.
Okay. And David Kunkel?
Mayor, council, attendees. I live in the Trails. My name is David Kunkel. Rick, I have a question for you because it wasn't covered earlier, but I just need clarification. I was at the last P&Z meeting, and I believe that the P&Z Commission approved a 260,000 square foot senior living facility. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yeah, that wasn't brought up in the meetings. I want to bring to the council's attention, if you haven't reviewed the traffic impact study, and I've heard very clearly on multiple occasions that once the TxDOT signs off on something, it's sacrosanct and we have no, involvement whatsoever. That's true to a point, but if the council approves something that's not reflected in the TIA, then it becomes problematic because the TxDOT's working and proving things based on bad information. Example, and I hope the council, if you haven't already taken a look at this traffic impact analysis, I got this from the city, so it's somewhere here. Take a look at it. true these numbers up with things that are being approved during this process. Because the 260,000 square foot senior living facility, in terms of the traffic impact analysis, was only graded at 180,000 square feet. And it wasn't difficult to find. That 80,000 square foot difference is a sizable difference. And the average Walmart supercenter in the US is only 186,000 square feet. So you can see, to kind of give you a reference on scale of what we're talking about here. I would recommend that that I think Sally was the liaison with TxDOT up until her going on leave. I don't know who's liaising with TxDOT now, but the decisions the council's making now needs to true up with the decisions TxDOT's made decisions on already. Because right now, other than the improvements that are scheduled, it's still going to be a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit on that section of 71. There are not going to be any mitigating signage or lights or flashing lights or anything. We've been told that consistently. So it's going to be a racetrack, and there's going to be health and safety issues.
Okay. You wanna- Yeah.
Are you cutting into my time, though?
Oh, no, I'm so,
I'm
so sorry.
I'd like to finish my remarks.
Yeah, please.
But before any approvals are given by the council, I really would implore you to true up, have a representative sit down with TxDOT to make sure all looking at the same numbers. Number one. Number two, I think the developer or someone needs to show us comprehensive drawings of the width of the highway, the width of the left-hand turning lanes, the width of the decel lanes or shoulders. We haven't seen anything since the original drawings back in July that I've seen. I mean, the council's probably privy to a lot more than I've got, but that's all most of us have ever seen. And again, this impact analysis was issued in July of last year, so it's been around a while. And I'm just imploring you to make sure the numbers true up with what's in here.
Thank you.
Because if they're minimized, there's an issue. Thank you.
Appreciate your remarks very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, Rick, would you like to
Yes, ma'am.
respond?
Yeah, no, again, good comments. So two things. First, the senior living center is correct. That is in the ordinance in the packet. That is page 21. That is the C2 senior living center on lot 13. They did request 260,000 square feet. P&Z did approve that. That's why it didn't show up as a red line version. To address the TIA, which again is a good comment. So one of the things I mentioned, the Development Review Committee, once y'all approve this, they've still got to go and get final approval. This is a subdivision for that. If they did an impact analysis on 180,000 square feet, that is all they will be allowed to build. So we don't review that in-house. I'm not a traffic engineer. We do have Walter P. Moore as our firm that we've selected as a development services engineering firm. They helped us come up with our traffic criteria manual that they have to abide by. That requires the TIA requirements, and then they review that too. So that is, they will have to provide all that documentation. Walter P. Moore will advise us if it fits or not. We will also, I liaise with that, and then also Tim Ferran's the Public Works Director. So obviously 71 is a state highway, but we're interested in how it interfaces with ours too. So we will keep an eye on that. If they don't true up, it won't be permitted.
So this then loops back around to the highway department?
So the TIA is a requirement of TxDOT because it's Highway 71. We have internal requirements too. We're not as stringent as a city for internal collectors, although it did trip a TIA, so they had to do one for the entire subdivision. But so like these streets here, these would be ones that Tim would review, private or public, it doesn't matter. Tim still reviews it. They've got to have certain amount of width. I don't want to go off the top of my head. I think it's 80-foot right of ways. It could be 60. It depends on how the street's classified. But yeah, we've got a comprehensive manual they've got to abide by.
Okay, Rick, please.
So with regards to square footage on the building, it has nothing to do with the traffic impact. What does is the room count. So the room count has not changed. They're just larger rooms and there's a little more space around it once they did their studies. So please know that we're not adding more people. It's just a bigger space for those people. Secondly, with Walmarts, we've heard this come up a few times. Walmarts are a single-story building, so they look like a massive building. When you have 2, 3, whatever story buildings you're going to have, they look more compact and they're not spread out across, a 10-acre parcel. I'm trying to remember anything else. Oh, it's with regards to TxDOT. TxDOT plans we have those. We've had those for a long time, and that's a long, arduous process with TxDOT, and they don't make it up. You're spending the time to get all the details done. So to address the question was the speed limit, which we have no control over, and then the traffic impact analysis. What they told us is they said, your traffic impact is so minimal based on this that you're at 25%. So in essence, we could up the capacity of this project 50% and still have the same amount of TxDOT improvements. In their view, is a minimal impact on Highway 71. So I just wanted to address those things. Thank you for allowing me. You have questions?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand what you said. So the square footage is just going to be increased. So the initial study, nothing's changed.
No.
Okay, even though you've got more square footage,
Correct.
you just got bigger units. The number of people doesn't change.
Correct.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
important.
it'll be based on an occupancy load. So maybe that wasn't clear. If they up that from 180,000 to 260,000 and they add blank more beds, we will make sure those numbers true up.
Okay, so that answers the gentleman's question then. I mean, so there's a true up of those numbers then.
Yeah, we will verify, and that again, they'll have to, when they go through DRC, they'll have to provide that again. If they've changed something, it is from July of last year. If that's changed, they'll have to do it again. So.
Yeah, and the spaces that have been added are not, again, they're not unit counts. They're bigger gathering spots for people. And
Fine.
yeah,
Makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you. This is something that 70% of the people in the long range plan said that they supported was a full life care facility, but we want to get this right.
Correct.
And so what we're doing here is creating a plan development where this is basically these pictures that we see. Once we pass whatever we pass, that's what's going to happen there unless they come back and we open up the plan development and have the opportunity to redo everything, which developers don't like to do, and the city certainly doesn't like to do. So this is a process people have spent a great deal of time. The staff has spent a lot of time. I know that the developers have. We reviewed this the first time in August of 2023. That was when we passed the concept plan. Basically, it's the same picture that you see here. The other picture, which is the one with the zoning on it, it's slightly more refined, but it's the exact same. That is exact, not that one, the other one, Rick.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the same picture that we saw in August of 2023. So this is just more definition to what's going to happen on each lot, and I want the council to know that this has been going on. But it basically is the same thing that was proposed however many months ago that was, 9 months ago. But tell me, do you all have any questions, concerns?
I want to go back to it. So to the gentleman's point, which was a very valid point.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Traffic study was based on X amount of people.
Yes.
No, irregardless of the square footage. So then the traffic study is valid.
Yes.
Okay.
In a vacuum, like I said, when they submit actual building permit,
If it changes,
yes, sir,
then we get to re-look at this. But
yes, sir.
currently, the traffic study duplicates to what was originally submitted by the developer.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. Do you have any more comments?
Mayor, I just wanted to back up on your comment about the 70% that want this type of facility. The other reason a PD is needed is no investor is going to come in, spend their time, their money, and their research if they don't know what they can or cannot build on a piece of property. So if all of this was a conditional use, it couldn't happen because people are not going to buy and invest and spend the dollars if they don't know if they can build something because
Right.
it's conditional use until after the fact.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, please, but speak, yeah.
Sorry about
We're going to
that.
get her a taller chair or a longer microphone cord. I don't know.
I just want to make a comment, and I want to take off my council hat for a moment and put on my resident's hat. This project is almost out my back door. And I can tell you that we really need to be sure that you do some serious work for the people who live off of the Bay West Boulevard, up and down in that area, because they're going to be very angry. Because even as much as we love our community, I can sit on my patio and I can hear Ron's music going on up on 71 and 2147 when they have a group up there. And most of us have bought our homes as retirement homes where it's quiet. There are other places like the homes for people who are ill, people who are dying, who live right there. And we're respectful of that because we know that for a fact. You have a right to do what you're doing. You own the property. But what I would ask of you is that you do everything that you can in the most positive way that you can to help the people who've invested everything they have to live in this beautiful area, to be able to have input and to be comfortable in their homes. Because once this all comes about, we won't be able to make a profit on our homes. It will impact the value of our homes. There is no doubt in my mind about that. But I hear what you say, and I believe you will do that. That's a trust that I will hope you will keep.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, we're going to close the public meeting at 4:42, and I will entertain a motion. Whoops, did I do that
Before
wrong?
you do that, I wanted to confer one more time with the attorney. So she did mention gaming. She had some possible definitions if you wanted.
I want to I want to be sure that we're addressing the issue that y'all have seen locally that you're wanting to deal with. And I understood it was probably electronic devices that were being used for gambling, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's
So-
gambling, but they would get non-cash prizes, but then they would convert it. Right? So
Okay. Well, there's not a definition in our zoning ordinance, so we either need to define the term or reference another term that's already defined someplace else. Gaming is not used in our penal code. It's gambling device as opposed to gaming, but it has some exceptions, and I want to be sure that it actually covers still what you're addressing, that maybe it's something that's not covered in the statute. We can come up with a different definition. I was looking at some different, more common definitions for games of chance and that sort of thing, but I just wanted to be sure we were addressing what you wanted to cover.
right, and I think that's when it gets down to it. It was I can give you some definitions and some documents that came from Llano County that were utilizing that definition and things. So we could do
Are they using the state definition, or do you know?
I don't really know. I have to go back.
Because I thought if it was illegal
Yeah.
under the penal code, then they probably were arresting people for things.
But I think they were legal, but there was also some problems with some illegal activities
that was associated with it, right?
So what's your recommendation, Mary Ann? Do we need to include anything in this PD?
We will need to define gaming somehow for them, yes. And so that's what I was trying to figure
Today.
out. Yeah, today. So,
Okay.
so yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out what y'all were trying to address. Because that's what I was worried about, was it was something that wasn't being caught. And
Would it be possible for us to pass the PD with the provision that that gaming be that we provide a definition for gaming that will be agreed upon by our attorneys or recommended by the attorneys, or can we include some language without actually
I'd
defining?
prefer for us to come up with some language, which I can try to do while y'all are talking about the other issues. Are you ready for a motion at this point to adopt it? You think?
I was ready to
Okay.
close the public meeting and,
Okay.
and have a motion. So if that's okay. I don't mean to rush you, but
No, I was just trying, I wasn't clear for sure what we were trying
Okay.
to address. And that's the other illegal activity that I'm concerned about.
Could we define as any facility with a gambling device of any type? And just be very, very, because my understanding is we
driving.
don't. Now that may
Yeah.
circumvent bingo.
Can it be as simple as just electronic gaming?
Is it just electronic?
Yeah.
They're gonna
yes, sir, Mayor
Yeah, the way
Lambert.
Llano County's defining it is in the penal code.
Sorry, but I did this for a while. You could approve something with the expectation or standard that this come back at a future meeting and be added when it's clarified. Because you'd do a better job of writing it up if you took a little more time.
Well,
I
can
think
we,
that's
can
legal.
we, can we, can we say that it would be that the, including, that gaming will be,
Well, right now, what if we adopt it? It's just going to be gaming, and it's
Mhm.
not going to have a clear definition. Obviously, for enforcement purposes, and for their comfort in developing it, they're going to need to have some definition. So you can adopt it the way it is. We just need to come back and clarify it, because if we don't, it's going to be really hard for everybody. So the way it's
can we
defined is
refer
part.
to, can we refer to the gaming regulations that the Llano County passed?
Well, Llano County has the definition of gambling. I think it's gambling device. And they only used, what I was concerned with this definition was the B part of it, which they've left out of their definition, which I think is where the problem is. And so, so it's 4 and 4A of the penal code. So, but we can look at that further if you want. I just recognize you don't have a definition. I think it'd be better for everybody just sitting here looking at it while y'all were talking. It's clear that it needs to be clearly defined for you.
Okay, okay. Then I'm going to close the public meeting at 4:46, and I think that Councilmember Jones is going to make a stab at making a motion.
Yes, he is. Mayor, I move to, this is going to be long.
Okay.
He's a lawyer.
I move to approve the Silver Rock PD as presented with the following additions and subtractions. The first of which is all of our red line sections for planning and for the from the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations, except item A, parentheses X, close parentheses, and parentheses XI, close parentheses.
sections 5A.
Item A is what I've got here.
Oh, okay. I think it is
5A, sorry. 5AX and XI. And except for 5N, I and II regarding personal storage and office warehouse storage. I also would move that we approve the blue line sections that entail the requests from the applicants that they made after the P and Z meeting. And those are in blue in the proposed ordinance. Further, I move that we strike the height exemption for the tower and parapet wall in sections C2 for all lots except lot 13. Further, I move that for section 5A and 5N, we approve the permitting of personal storage and warehouse use for lots 2, 8, and 10. Further, for section 6C, I would like to move that we defined the word tower in the ordinance as an area of building extending above the roof line that Yeah, define the word tower in the ordinance as an area of a building extending above the roof line, not intended for habitation or climate control. The tower shall be for internal access of the rooftop mechanical structures only. Further, in section 6C of the ordinance, I move that we add, quote, a parapet wall required for screening of a mechanical equipment on the roof shall extend a minimum of building code requirements for safety fencing not to exceed 5 feet. You want that one again? Of mechanical equipment on the roof shall extend a minimum of building code requirements for safety fencing not to exceed 5 feet. I would also, in 6C, move that we add after the term 43 feet, these words, above the highest contour line. I also move that in 6I of the ordinance, that we have the following restriction that is added. Quote, they may be of TPO membrane over coverboard behind mansard construction. Whatever. They, building restriction, that these will be of TPO membrane over coverboard behind mansard construction.
That was the staff recommendation. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't come up with that. I would also move that in the entire ordinance, we include where appropriate that all landscaping shall be required to be drought resistant or tolerant. I would also move that in section AII, we include the words that a brewery needs to be associated with a restaurant and not a standalone brewery.
That's 8A.
8A, excuse me. 8AII, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8AII. Did you get the motion? Yes. Are we going to add the gaming at this point or not? Okay.
Okay.
We don't have language to use unless we want to use exactly what Llano County did, which I'm okay with. I think that's probably a good definition, but
Use the Llano County definition.
Okay. Can you read me that again?
if we can,
Just put it incorporated as Llano County.
it's
Can we do that?
Say incorporate Llano County language.
incorporate the Llano County definition of gambling device for the definition of gaming.
I further move that we incorporate the language used in the Llano County ordinance to prohibit gaming devices in our gaming definition.
Wow, you done?
I think so.
Okay, we're going to discuss this, but do I have a second on this motion from Councilmember Jones? Second from Councilmember Morgan. Now, yes, please. Oh, okay.
Well, wanted to make sure to get the lawyer. So in your amended section where you said above highest contour line, to clarify, you mean natural contour line?
Yes, natural highest contour line.
So you're gonna, okay, will you accept that amendment? Okay, any questions, council?
Yes. What have we done with the convenience store?
He did not include,
It's in the red line section, which made it a conditional use permit. That means they have to come back for it.
Right, for now, so you're putting a conditional use not only on the convenience store, but obviously the car wash and the gas.
I think that by the red, correct me if I'm wrong, I think all that did was put the gas pumps and the car wash in conditional use.
I'm okay with that.
The convenience store could stay. So, I mean, and that's something we can discuss. If you all want to leave the gas pumps and the car wash in the PD, we can do that. But what Jeff's motion
I like
is.
the conditional use for the gas pumps and the car wash, but I want the convenience store in the PD.
So they would be able to build a convenience store without the gas pumps and the car wash, but if they want to add the car wash,
Then
they
they'd have to come back.
Okay, that's what the motion is. So,
Jeff,
do you all have any
will you
other?
repeat that, please? No, seriously. I don't know how you did that, but that was good.
Well, he's been sitting here working on it. I've been watching him. You know,
This
you
is
get a
very,
lawyer
very-
on the council, and you got a lawyer on the council. What am I?
This
You'll
is
get my
very,
bill
very
later.
difficult, but basically, we're approving everything that was identified by P&Z, with the exception of we're putting conditional use on the pumps and the car wash. In a nutshell, I mean, that's a very
P&Z recommended that we leave storage and the gas pumps in conditional use. Jeff's motion is that we allow the storage lots, those three storage lots, 2, 8,
they're
and 10,
backing up to the
be
storage unit. So I
yes,
don't
to
have a
be so
problem.
that we don't have to have those come to
Yes,
us again.
yes.
So he's recommending that
That's
we
what I
leave
thought.
the storage units
That's what I
in the
thought. I wanted the
PD.
storage units. Still
Okay.
in there, so that's what I'm saying. So
And-
we're basically, the Cliff Notes version is we've taken the P&Z, we've addressed the issues that have been brought up, and we're just saying no to the gas pumps and the car wash.
Correct.
Is the easiest way
It's
to.
delayed. Correct. Yes.
Cliff
Okay.
Notes version of this, and
Okay.
I'm into Cliff Notes.
Councilmember King, do you have a question?
On the elevation of the highest elevation where you're putting the height of the
Like,
building.
could you speak into the?
On your elevation statement in there about the towers, has anybody determined what that elevation is? What points you're talking about?
You're talking about the senior living?
I don't know what it's about. He's talking about some tower here that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and explain it to me.
The tower is identified in there. It cannot be more than 8 feet above the roof line. So the building height is 35 feet. And then, so in there, it says it can't be more than 8 foot above that. For
The highest elevation.
Yes, sir.
I ask, has anybody determined what that highest elevation is?
You're talking about actual building height versus.
I want to know how high they can actually make it. I just wondered if anybody had done that yet.
That's would be the developer.
I mean, are you talking
43
this?
feet.
What?
35 plus 40 plus 8 is 43.
So you start with the highest elevation of the lot where the place where it's going to be built,
Right.
and then you can go up 35 feet for the building and an extra 8 feet for the chimney. So wherever the highest contour of that lot is,
Just the lot, not the whole project.
right,
the
just that the
structure
lot
itself.
where it's going to be.
Okay.
Now, this particular lot where the senior living structure is going to be has a lot of slope to it. So they're going to actually have to dig into that highest elevation to get it to get it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so council members, do you have any more questions at this point? I think we're ready to vote. Okay, all in favor of this motion as presented and amended and by Councilmember Jones, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you all for all your hard work on this, and we're looking forward to a senior living center. Thank you. Okay, so now we have an, well, you know you're not allowed to, but I'm going to let you.
I signed up.
Oh, that's right, you did, you did.
We've been working a long time on a senior living facility. They're awfully close to committing to doing it. What you did today will help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, so now we're moving on to our next item on the agenda, which is item 7B, Summit Rock Pod number 1.8, a preliminary plat. I'm going to open a public meeting at 5 o'clock. Nobody signed up for this, so do you want to go through what you have to say?
Yes, ma'am. So I do have slides on this one. So Pod 1.8, this is this section here on the screen. I won't read it verbatim to you unless you'd like me to. But basically, this is our ordinance requires preliminary platting and final platting. It also allows that to happen concurrently. So this is the preliminary plat. After you approve or deny it, we'll go into the final plat. They're both on here. So nothing changes from that to that. But this is a proposed 34.5 acre single family development located off Summit Rock Boulevard in Zone 12. The development will consist of 15 single family lots and 2 open space lots. And then the single family lots range in size from 1/3 of an acre to just over 1/2 of an acre. One of the open space lots is part of the existing golf course, and the other open space lot is in a creek drainage way. The land where the single family lots are located is zoned R1 single family estate. The open space lots are zoned A1 recreational. So you can see there's more in there, but you can see this is these lots right here. The golf course is here. Here's 2147. These are the entrance ways to Escondido. Do you have any other questions, Mayor, Council?
Where's your utility thing going to go? The
Or-
one that you're moving, the one that we're.
The new lift station?
Lift station.
That's proposed. That'll be the Summit Rock Sienna Creek lift station. That'll be here in this lot. And then also the new city center site is right here. So this will essentially, the back of these will abut the city center site. And there's a creek that runs between it.
Okay, council members, do you have any questions for Rick? This is a public hearing, so if anybody in the community would like to ask a question, yes, sir, please step to the, give us your name and where you live, and Carrie will have her timer here.
Hi, Jim Letty. I live in Summit Rock in the Golden Bear, which would be right across the pond. So, question, do you have any idea of the cost of those new dwellings? And what kind of design is planned?
Is that all your comments, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right. That'd be.
Mr. Mitchell, do you want to respond to this?
The estimated cost of the estate homes will probably run from $1.5 million to 2-point-something million. There'll be rear entry garage homes, which will be kind of unique. We'll build a privacy wall to buffer the commercial zone, which will also help the Golden Bear Reserve, because all of that in the original Skywater was zone commercial, even up against the golf course. And then when we redid Skywater, we changed it into estate homes to protect the Golden Bear and the residential and the golf course.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Jim? Okay. So the portion between those lots and the 2147 it's still anticipated that will be a commercial zone that's part of the town center concept.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to close the meeting at 5:04. I'll entertain a motion. The motion should be on page 35, council, I think. Yeah.
I move to approve Summit Rock BOD 1.8 preliminary plat.
There have a motion from Council Member Morgan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Councilmember Hosia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is item 7C, Summit Rock Pod 1.8 final plat. This is the same project that we were talking about, but now we're just doing a final plat. Do you have anything you want to say? Oh, we're going to open the meeting at 5:04.
Assuming nothing's changed, I would recommend approval.
Okay. Council members, do you have any questions? We're going to close the meeting at 5:05. I'll entertain a motion, which should be on page 41, council. Some brave council member want to make a motion?
Let me get to it. I'll do it.
Don't all speak at once. Page 41.
I move to approve the final plat for Summit Rock POD 1.8.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Hosey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember King. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, let's go to ordinance 2024-12, approving the issuance of conditional use permit. We're going to open a public meeting at 5:05. Is this still you? Or are you the only person that's going to talk today?
Yes, ma'am. You remove that, and then the one business item that you moved up was my rest time, so you're going to hear from me for a while. Yes, ma'am. This is a conditional use permit applied for by the applicant, the Horseshoe Bay Resort. So, I have the map up. We're going to reference these sites here, or this site here, which is the sand volleyball courts. In the spring of 2022, Horseshoe Bay Resort received a conditional use permit for the two sand volleyball courts located on lot 15050-A. The 0.83 acre lot is located on Cove West and the shore of Lake LBJ between the Waterfront Grill and the Port of Call and Cove West condos. The property is zoned C2 General Commercial. Park use is a conditional use in the C2 General Commercial zoning classification. The original CUP was issued in March 2022 and was valid for 24 months, requiring renewal after that time. The resort has requested to continue the sand volleyball use permanently and has made application for a conditional use permit. They have requested the use be permanent and not attach an expiration date specifically. The new conditional use permit would be conditional upon these points. Point 1, the use remaining for the existing two sand volleyball courts and not being changed or expanded. Condition 2, use is permitted from 10 a.m. until dark. Security lighting will be provided by decorative HSB light. Section 3, night lighting of the courts is not permitted. Section 4, permit is not transferable to a different owner, so still that CUP. And then Section 5, this is something we added utilities we discussed back in 2022. Sites shall have permanent water and sewer utilities installed within 30 days of council approval of CUP. Tap fees are to be assessed at current rate per utility rate schedule. So those are some requests we would ask that you put as conditional.
Okay.
Staff is not aware of any opposition to this use on this lot and recommends council approve the conditional use permit.
I have a question. Why are we going with another conditional? Because then they got to come back.
So what they're saying, so it has to be conditional use because that's how the C2 states it. What they are requesting is that we get rid of the time. So before they weren't exactly sure what they wanted to do. So that 24-month, that was something council in 2022 put on it.
I remember that.
Yes, sir. So what they're asking now is that we remove the time restriction and just be allowed to stay that. So unless ownership were to change, it won't come back.
Okay.
But,
That's what I thought.
But note that what they're saying is that it's a permanent conditional use. But if it changes owners, then that terminates.
That gives us the.
Yeah. So are there any
That's
other
why
questions, council?
That's good.
Okay.
The applicant is here if you have questions. So.
I'm going to close the public meeting at 5:08. So council, on page 47, there are two possible motions. One is to grant a permanent conditional use permit, and the other is to continue a conditional use permit with 24 months. And I suppose you could also make a motion to deny the conditional use. So does anyone like to make a motion?
I'll do it again. I move to approve ordinance 2024-12, granting the conditional use permit. Oh, that's not the one. That's for another 24 months. Where's the permanent one? Okay. I move to approve ordinance 2024-12, granting a permanent conditional use permit for the sand volleyball courts
on Cove West.
on Cove West.
Okay, I have a second from Councilmember Hosey. Did I close the public meeting, Carrie?
You did.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Morgan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. Thank you. So now let's move on to business. Item 8B, we have an ordinance 2024-13, amending the Code of Ordinances. I'm sure it's still you, Rick.
Yes, sir, it is.
Jeff, are you beginning to feel unloved over there?
He's never looked happier.
You're losing your audience. You better get with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I had to.
Hurry, Jeff, they're leaving.
Where is this?
Hurry, Rick.
Okay, this is on page 180 of the packet. Yeah, I had to go through quite a bit for the financial audit. I'll read while y'all are catching up. So, don't believe I have any.
It's on page 57.
I don't think we had any slides related to this. So, what this is, staff has identified the need to update current building codes for the City Development Services Department. As part of the long-range plan, community and stakeholder involvement was identified as a goal for the city and specifically for the Development Services Department. So the department's recommending forming a stakeholder advisory committee to assist staff in recommending adoption of new building codes for council consideration. The proposed committee would meet at the direction of council with the targeted goal of researching and evaluating impact of new code adoption on building and HSB. Proposed charter and work scope area are attached for council consideration and comment. Staff recommends at this time forming the committee at this council meeting in May and then meeting and appointing members during the June regular council meeting. So all that to say, we think we need to update our building codes. We're currently at code 2015. So there's a couple options we have. What we would like is to include members of the building community in an advisory role to sort of look through that, see what impacts it would have on them, and then to form a report for council so that we can adopt new building codes. As a secondary for that, which is in the charter, we could keep this committee active. So if there are any building related issues or concerns within the community, council could direct them to review that on an ongoing basis.
Okay, but that's not a decision we need to make today.
No, ma'am, that's just my general.
Okay.
The charter is in there. This may be more curious questions.
Yeah, I think this is something we really need to do because there are places in the building code where there are discrepancies between one section and another. I won't go into it, but I think this is really a good thing to do to make sure we're up to date with the state, with our own rules, and to get everything in line. So do you all have any questions?
I do. I just have one. Where are you going to get qualified applicants for this? I understand the purpose,
Yes,
what you want to do, but I don't know that we're going to get
So
applicants for this. Give me an example of an applicant. Are you going to actually ask somebody from the building community?
yes, sir. Yeah, I've got several. We have a short list. One of them, the person.
said.
Yeah, this is not a typical committee
hell
where we
no.
ask
That's what I'm
people to
saying.
apply.
You got to have
We're
people
gonna
that
we're gonna choose that they are going to choose people that they know
We'll recommend.
will have good input.
All right,
So, yeah.
that's
We'll have some recommendations. One thing in the charter, maybe some direction on it, says 5 to 7. It says a maximum of 7 members. So that may be something up to 7 if y'all have a preference, but obviously y'all can do that in the June meeting.
So this will be something you choose. You won't necessarily accept applications from the community?
We'll solicit applicants. I was told specifically I can't choose them. Y'all have to choose them. So, but I'll have recommendations.
Y'all will appoint them. What the staff
chair.
is doing is they have selected or in the process of selecting contractors and people that work in this business that understand the codes, work with the codes for extended period times. We're going to work through those codes and see the impacts and kind of talk through and decide if we go with 2018 or 2021. We go through that process, but also to talk through the process and hopefully improve our relationship and working process by using them to bounce things off. So we want to pick some people that we have good relationships and work with and that have good understanding of the codes and the process.
There's a person that am going to recommend for the chair. They're a Citizens Academy graduate. They're a local builder, local resident to chair it. And then,
and we're going to bring those recommendations back next month.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Any other questions? So there's a suggested motion on page 180, council.
Can I make that for you? I move to approve ordinance 2024-13 as presented by staff.
Thank you. The motion was made by Councilmember King. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. So now let's move on to item 8C, Resolution 2024-17, establishing a legislative platform. I just want to tell Carrie, I'm sorry that I know we're running out of time and everything's rushing, but Carrie has worked really hard on coming up with these items of priorities, and I've reviewed them, Jeff's reviewed them, and she's got some really good things to bring to the legislature that are important to us. And I just want to thank you for all the hard work you do on our behalf. So go ahead.
Like the mayor said, these are broad areas in this resolution. The purpose of it is more of a communication tool with the Texas Municipal League, which is the organization that advocates on behalf of cities during the legislative session. The Senate and the House have already released their interim charges for the next session, and which basically state their areas of focus. And all of these things are included in those. And this resolution just sort of outlines, we oppose this, we support this, but it does not limit you. Once the session starts and bills start being released, you can still decide how you want to respond to those on an individual basis. So the purpose of this resolution is just simply communication tool, like I was saying.
Can we
Sam?
add, can we add to this?
You can add to it,
Yes,
you can remove it, you can, anything you like.
There's two things I think we should add. One clearly is they need to address the fading of cable franchise fees
Streaming.
in the advent of streaming and internet. They need to address that because the companies aren't going to do it. It's going to have to be done legislatively.
Yes.
To get that. So that's one you and I have talked about.
Right.
And the other one I had was something, and this is probably even more controversial, is giving the cities some power to control development during drought conditions. And I don't know how we do that without legislative support.
I think we have to start here.
Right.
With the discussion coming from the council. That's why this is something new that we haven't really done in the past. And this is definitely something I will give kudos to carry on, that we're trying to reach out and be interactive with the legislators to try to get them to understand that, one, they've been taking our power away. We need some power back.
Yes.
And that we have to do that. We have to be interactive. And so it is our intention to continue, not just now, but as things come up, we'll bring it to the council with resolutions that are brought forward from other cities that we want to support and have key interest in as well. And just like you said, in the internet on that is definitely something that is, there's lawsuits that are out there right now. And so we will kind of work to join them in any legislation going. We're also looking at a lot of water conservation type activities. Myself, I'm going to push hard on the state to try to expand that as
I
well.
think that should be front and center. Both of those.
Thank you, Fred. That's an excellent suggestion. Carrie, would you accept those suggestions? Okay.
Just a motion of approving the resolution. If you want to take action on it today, you can take action today, or you can wait to take action in June. But if you wanted to do it today, I can just add to that motion to add the city's ability to collect revenue from streaming, and that will turn into.
It's more than just streaming. It should be anybody that provides internet and uses our right of ways, they should pay a similar franchise fee for what they did with cable.
Yeah, with cable.
So it should be internet related franchise fees.
And the other one, okay. The city's ability to control development during drought condition.
That's actually in here. It doesn't specifically say drought, I don't believe, but it is manage growth and development through alternative moratorium triggers due to resource limitations, permitting, and other avenues. So that's sort of blanket resource.
I don't know that that's specific
It's not
enough.
specific to
We need to say definitely related to drought.
Yeah, right.
I mean, what we're in right now. I mean, we can't stop the development even if we go to stage 3, or worse than that, if we went to stage 4.
Carrie, I'm going to suggest that we bring this back in June, and let's just put it on the consent agenda with Frank's suggestions.
We'll do some more research on trying to define that, because there may be some bills out there that they're going to be looking at as well.
Good.
So, okay. Is that okay with you all?
Yes.
Okay, now, I know that Mr. Clausen, I had to leave, but we have 2 building request extensions on page 193. Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am. Me again. So, yes. So the first is the 1329 Apache Tiers. Applicant is Westway Custom Builders, Tom Clausen. They're requesting a 4th re-permit of 90 days for this project. First 60-day re-permit expired on 4/26 of 2023. The second 60-day re-permit extension expired on 6/5 of 2023. And the third re-permit will expire on the 30th of this month. If you choose to grant it, the re-permit can be granted at a fee below the 4th of 90 days at a fee of $15,000. We have, not in there. In the packet on page 194, we have the request from Mr. Clausen. And then one thing we've started to add too for consideration of council is code compliance notes. So they've had no actions in the past year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Dwight?
Just going to make a motion.
There should be a motion if you would like to make it on page 193.
I move to approve Westway Custom Builders request 4th re-permit for 1329 Apache Tiers for 90 days for $15,000.
There's a motion from Councilmember King. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now let's go to item 8E, request for 3rd building permit for 100 Ruby Red. And I don't believe Mr. Smith is here. Okay.
No, ma'am. No, he did email that he had another engagement. He did say the reason for this request is it's a custom home and they're having a very hard time getting the owners to pick their colors and cabinets and all that stuff.
Pick no colors.
Same thing, Southern Legacy Building Group. They're requesting a 3rd re-permit of 60 days. The first 60-day re-permit expired on March 6th of 2024. The second permit extension expired on May 5th of 2024. The third re-permit will expire on July 4th of 2024.
Is this in Tuscan Village?
No.
No, this is west, Ruby Ridge, Ruby Red.
You seem to know what it
Thank you.
is.
Yeah, Ruby Red's off Broken Hills, sort of
Oh, okay.
across.
I know which house it is now. Okay.
Falcon.
How much time do we give them a
It's
raise?
across from Falcon. There's a
I know
little
where
water
it is.
crossing.
I know where it is.
2 years.
2 years.
So
It starts out with 2 years.
if you choose this third re-permit for 60 days would be at a fee of $5,000. And same thing, no code compliance concerns within the last year.
Okay. Council, there's a motion on 195.
I'll move to approve Southern Legacy Building Group's request 3rd permit for 100 Ruby Red for 60 days for $5,000.
Motion from Councilmember Hosea. Is there a second? Second from Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We're moving on to item 9, the consent agenda. Is there anything you would like to have removed from the consent agenda, Council?
I didn't see anything.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve consent agenda as presented.
Okay, there's a motion from Councilmember Hosea. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Monthly reports.
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff, do we have anything?
I'm going to ask Rick
Please do.
to just tell us a little bit about the lake levels, because we had recent rain and kind of where we are in the drought situation and how that's going to impact us. And then following that, I'd like to have Doug, Fire Chief Doug Fowler, talk to us a little bit about some of the activities he's been doing lately having to do with Firewise and something else. Yeah, it's our inspection that we just had,
Okay.
right? So,
Okay.
right, please.
Oh, good. Okay. We're gonna, okay, Ray's gonna tell us. Thank you.
Mayor and council, public. Some good news. We did receive the report from LCRA on the lake levels. As it stands as of May 1st, we do have 150, 1,050,000 acre feet, or 53% capacity on lake levels. So the combined lake levels, has improved. Last year, this time, we were at 51%. This year, we are at 53%. So things are looking up. We are, again, 1,050,000 acre feet. We have 950,000 to go to get over that 1.1 million acre feet. So the inflows are still coming in at 794 cubic feet per second out of the Colorado River near San Saba. They went down a little bit from a previous day of 1,182 cubic feet per second, but we still have inflows coming in. So we still have some rain projected. Hopefully we can get there, but that still keeps us in stage 2. And we are hoping that this will creep us over, right? Again, this is May 1st, so we did have some extra inflow coming in. So we should see a significant increase and hopefully, like I said, get over that 1.1.
Is it, we need to get to 1.1 to get out of
1.1
stage
to
2?
get
I
out
thought
of
it was
stage
1.2. It's okay.
It's 1.1.
1.1, good. Okay. If we can get there, then we get to
Then
go
we can-
back to 2 days a week,
Yes.
which
Stage 1.
would be great. Okay.
We can start wasting water again.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole nother conversation, but
Has there been any change as far as LCRA? We're still in the same bucket with everybody else. They
We s-
haven't recognized. It's just.
Yes, sir. We are still in drought. So until we hit that 1.1 to remove us out of that drought contingency plan, we still remain in drought conservation program.
luckily we've been getting rain, so let's hope it continues without floods. Thank you. Thank you, Ray. Okay. Chief Fowler.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just 2 items. Every year, we have a compliance inspection by the Texas Commission on Fire Protection. And came in, we started the process last month, and they came in and finished up last week. And happy to report that we passed without any write-ups whatsoever. So that was good. The second item is we're continuing to mitigate to the best of our ability the wildfire threat. We also understand that there's insurance issues, people with certain companies getting canceled on their insurance policies, and so we are looking at Firewise as a way to try and prevent any more of those cancellations, and also the possibility, depending upon your insurance company, getting a discount on your insurance for being a Firewise community. So the Texas Forest Service, we were scheduled to do an evaluation on 4 neighborhoods last Friday, but due to the storms in Houston, that took away my Texas Forest Service representative. They had to take their chainsaws and go clear roads. So they were busy. But we do plan to schedule that. And we want to have a recommendation on a priority for neighborhoods. And then we'll get with those neighborhoods leadership and then talk about the work and the benefits to be had.
Great, good. You know, Firewise has certainly been effective out at the trails. We know it works. And the Tuscan Village has successfully been approved for Firewise. I know they're working on it. Have they accomplished it yet?
Yes. Yep. They completed their requirements.
Good. So we're making baby steps. So that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And who else was it? Oh, okay, great. So there are no more monthly reports. And without any other business, we're going to adjourn. Wait.
The only thing I would like to add is that we've been working with the LUDAC committee, and they've been meeting for about a month and a half, and they've come up with their action items and moving forwards. And Ruben Fetchner's here, who is the chairman for that committee. And so, do you have anything you want to add to that as far as? Right.
Yep. Yeah, the work of this committee is going to be real important because they're going to help us come up with what we want to see primarily in the undeveloped property of the ETJ. So, okay, is there anything else? Okay, then we're going to adjourn this meeting at 5:30. We do have an executive session. So, for the public, I'm sorry you have to leave, and we will.
Thank you for being here.
And for the council, I'm sorry you get to stay. So,
We're so sorry that you
Can we have a
have
2-minute
to.
break?
just take a 5-minute break and then come back.